Hello everybody. Here we go again. We just had a lightning strike, I guess, and heavy rainfall. I guess we have hurricane or tropical storm Laura getting ready to pass us to our west. So I'm going to try to get this in before the next cheater band goes by. I've lost track of which one this is. I think we're on number 5 or number 6. But today we're dealing with, I'm dealing with the first chapter of the second part of Kunin's Modern Theories for Religious Studies. And this chapter 6 is on sociology, the sociology of religion. There's a lot more in this book. If you are a graduate student, I encourage you to get it and read it in your spare time. But otherwise, I'm just going to focus on the ones that I think might help us this semester. Okay, let me share a screen with you. Share Kunin chapter 6. Here we go. So, chapter 6 of Kunin, Religion and Modern Theories, is divided into 3 sections: definitions of religion and methodological agnosticism is the first section. Theories and views of secularization is the second section. And various structures of religious organizations is the third section. I'm going to fly through this and skip a lot of details in order to try to finish within the 15-minute mark, or before the next lightning strike comes. So most of these that we're talking about theories can be described as functionalism. There's at least 2 different kinds here that we're talking about. The first group focuses on religion as a social institution that exists to fill either the individual or social needs, specifically functionalists. And I might add that functionalism basically views society as organic, and so every feature of society must have a function, and the quest of functionalism is to determine what that function is. So religion must have a function, and it's like if you take out your liver, you have a problem. And so you remove religion, and you may have a problem. But we'll get into more of that with the secularization theories. The second group focuses on religion's role in relating to meaning and the validation of cognitive systems. This would be, to some extent, phenomenological or interpretive symbolism. Another group focuses on rational choice theory, which is Rodney Stark and Andrew Chesnut. Rodney Stark, and I've misspelled his name there, take the C out, is a historian or sociologist of U.S. religion, and Andrew Chesnut is a religious scholar of Brazil, and he uses rational choice theory to study the competition between Catholicism and Pentecostalism in Brazil. Two kinds of functional analysis: societal, which is represented by Kingsley Davis, who I have not read. More individual and psychological would include Malinowski and Bryon Wilson. Robert Bellah links the society approach to the individual and psychological approach, somewhat similar to Weber. Kingsley Davis wrote The Human Society in 1948, which is a textbook. Robert Bellah in 1964 wrote Religious Evolution, or The Evolution of Religion, which I have read and was very impressed by. And again, I'm going to skip over the details here, which you can read in the article to save us time so I can get through the whole thing. Milton Yinger wrote The Scientific Study of Religion in 1970. And again, moving along for the sake of time. So Yinger does not believe that private practices can be considered religion. He argues that religion is inherently associated with society or a group within society. Bryon Wilson wrote Religion and the Sociological Perspective in 1962, and first of all, religion, according to Bryon Wilson, has the role of validating society and social structures. Second, religion helps groups define and set boundaries for themselves. Third, religion serves to regulate emotion. It provides social control and helps society to function. Wilson believes that these functions of religion have declined in modern societies and are being provided by other institutions. We'll see in the next section that he's squarely in the secularization camp that believes that religion is going to fade away with modern secularization. Peter Berger, one of my favorite authors, I read his book a few years ago, The Sacred Canopy, develops an aspect of Weber's analysis, that is the social construction of religion and society and the ideological relationships between religion and society. Religion and world construction, religion and world maintenance, the legitimation and preservation of systems of meaning. Berger is not arguing for a primacy of ideas over the material, and therefore theology. He places emphasis on religious practice or behavior. Thomas Luckmann, a colleague and collaborator with Peter Berger, wrote The Invisible Religion in the same year, 1967. Very interesting theorist. The problem of individual existence in society is a religious problem. So he argues that there's a convergence in the sociological thought of Weber and Durkheim, which is the understanding of the individual in society as emerging from the study of religion. Luckmann deconstructs the association between religion and church, or religious institutions, and he disputes the idea that a decline in attendance in religious services necessarily means a decline in religious practice or behavior or faith. So he focuses more on the individual believer than on the church structures. Sociologists see churches as islands of religion in an increasingly secularized world. Not so much Thomas Luckmann, but the sociologist of secularization. Luckmann believes that religion has a broader basis in society. Religion is a broad category that locates the individual in society. And religion is directly associated with symbolic universes of meaning that join together everyday life and the transcendent or religious cosmos. He focuses on the idea of consciousness. Consciousness can only arise in society, and consciousness of self depends on the awareness of others. Luckmann places religion at the heart of this process of social and individual consciousness. He suggests that the process out of which the self emerges is religious in nature. This process is the source of religion, hence the idea of meaning, symbolism and meaning for the self. And this would also explain why religion is so widespread in every society. Worldview, which is perceived as objective, becomes the basis for the individual subjective action in the world. Then we have rational choice theory. It's applying microeconomics to religious studies, first developed by Stark and Bainbridge in The Future of Religion in 1985. They believe that human behavior is shaped by rewards and costs. Humans are rational actors who seek rewards and avoid costs. Rational choice theory develops an idea of religious free markets and applies market terms to religion, such as marketing a religious product or a spiritual product, and the church attenders become religious consumers. According to Stark, they will go where they get the best bang for the buck. In other words, the most reward for the least cost. Andrew Chesnut uses rational choice theory in his analysis of Catholicism and Pentecostalism in Brazil. He believes that Pentecostalism is offering a better deal more rewards for less cost, and hence Catholics are converting to Protestantism in Brazil and Latin America. This brings us to the second part, which is secularization. Some of the theorists that the chapter reviews are Shiner, Wilson, Ray Wallace, Steve Bruce, Peter Berger, and David Martin. Rational choice theory is one theory that argues directly against the secularization model. They also believe that Europe is more secular than the United States because of the absence of market competition in Europe under the monopolies of state churches. U.S. religion, on the other hand, being pluralist, has a lively free market of religion that keeps churches healthy and competitive, leading to less secularization. Backing up for a moment to the people above, Peter Berger and some of the others, Wilson, the idea of secularization is that as modern society gets more and more complex, it becomes more and more differentiated. That means that instead of religion and education being together in one sphere, in modern societies, education is separate and apart from religion. And ideally, politics should be separate and apart from religion. Economics, each one of these spheres and modern institutions differentiate, and therefore they take over more and more religious traditional function, leaving religion with nothing but the private sphere as a place of providing meaning and comfort to individuals. And so they believe that as society continues to develop in complex modern ways, that there's less and less need for religion. This was more popular back in the 1960s and has been called into question recently. At the end of the 20th century, there was a marked increase in the profile of religion in the public sphere. Liberation theology was a significant part of the revolution in Sandinista revolution in Nicaragua in 1979. Islamism was a significant part of the Iranian Revolution in 1979. There was also the rise of the religious right in the United States with the election of Ronald Reagan in 1980. There was also the explosion of global Pentecostalism, in addition to global Islamic terrorism. Peter Berger rethought his position and moved from being a proponent of secularization to a critic. In 1999, he published a new book updating his views called The Desecularization of the World. In this book, he argued that the process of modernization is very complex, with some situations leading to a decrease in religious commitment and others increasing it. In other words, some people react to modernization by becoming more religious. For example, Jewish and Protestant fundamentalism, Islamic fundamentalism. I'm trying to remember the woman who published the book on that. I can't remember her name now, but she published a book called The War for God, in which she traced the roots of Islamic, Jewish, and Christian fundamentalism. It was also Hindu fundamentalism, by the way. So Berger came around to a different point of view, in which it's not a given that religions will decline and disappear. The third section is structures of religious institutions. A lot of this comes from Max Weber and his colleague and friend Ernst Troeltsch, whose 2-volume book I have read. And Weber and Troeltsch came up with a number of definitions of religious structures, beginning with the church. For them, and my cigar went out again. Just a second. For them, church was an ideal type that roughly conformed to the European established churches, such as the Swedish Lutheran Church, the Anglican Church, the Catholic Church, or in Holland, the Dutch Reformed Church. That would be church, which is coterminous with society and the state, and people are born into it, not by individual choice of conversion, but by birth.